Hey, welcome everybody. Let's talk real estate. Your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current commercial real estate market here in Southern California. As we take a no BS look at both sides of the issues driving this market today to find the best solutions going forward. With our man in the middle, it's Barry Saywitz. Hey, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Paul, and good morning to all of our viewers and our listeners out there. We are back again. It is 2026, week 2. I assume everybody's back from their vacations and their holidays now, and as is the case in our office, back at it and getting after it. And that's what we're going to do again this morning. So I'm excited about today's show. We're going to take a little bit of a different twist, and we're going to talk some real estate, but we're going to mix in some general business stuff overall. And so I'm excited to have our guest, Scott Taylor, who is the director of the Conrey Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State University Fullerton here in Orange County. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so we appreciate you coming on. The Center for Entrepreneurship covers a wide variety of things. When you say entrepreneurship, it's basically someone with an idea who decides to run with it, and then what they do with it is what tells the story. And in terms of your story, I start with that because you have a wide variety of backgrounds, going back to when you studied at the University of Washington and started studying in business all the way through getting a PhD in entrepreneurship, which I assume by most standards makes you an expert in entrepreneurship. And I'm not even sure what that is, but I guess talk to us about when you were in school and when you were in business, what led you to the niche of focusing on entrepreneurship, and how did that go?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I started my undergrad studies at Brigham Young University in Utah. I'm from Utah, and growing up I have 7 siblings, and so we had to pay for all of our stuff. So even when I was young, I had a cherry stand and was an independent contractor as a referee, and would travel all around Utah doing those types of things. And so naturally, and I lived in Germany for a couple of years as a missionary for my church, and again, knocking on doors, talking to people and serving. And so I really became used to creating my own destiny. But as an undergrad at Brigham Young University, they just started offering a few classes in entrepreneurship, and I loved the class that they had there. It was just, they had a bunch of entrepreneurs come in. You may know Larry H. Miller. He owned the Utah Jazz for a while.
Yeah.
And he did obviously a lot of real estate, commercial real estate as well. But he was one of the professors, and then we had a lecture series where just a bunch of entrepreneurs came in and they chatted with about their lives, and it just opened up an entire new world to me as an undergrad of what you can create through your own means. And I got really excited about it, and I guess they gave like a minor or a certificate or something in it there. And as I went and got my master's in business and had a lot of experience in sales and customer service and management, but I got my MBA in finance, and that was in 2009. And so 2009 is not a great year to have a finance degree.
Or to be in real estate or anything in investing.
You needed to have a steady job it's fine for academia. But that's when, again, I was finishing up my master's and I was still working full time. I know I wasn't supposed to, but I did anyway, because at that time I had two little condos in Utah, and always really enjoyed investing in real estate. But I got laid off from the company I was with and didn't really have much of a choice. And there was this new thing called LinkedIn, and I had a lot of experience in regulatory affairs. And so I just posted it. Technically at the time, I bought a flower shop as one of my courses. I forgot about that. I've had that one too. Right. So I had entered a business plan competition, had a little tech company that didn't do too well. And then in 2009, I had a class, and the goal was to start a business,
right? That's what they do in entrepreneur classes. They make you start a business.
That's all it was. We met twice. That was it. And then you'd email the professor back and forth. It was basically like a practicum. So I had investigated some businesses and had started working on what was a trade show at the time for the industry for that class. And in the meantime, I used my student loans. I serendipitously my wife went to a flower shop, and they said, "Hey, we're selling it," because she said, "I love flowers." And so I looked at the spreadsheets, and I was shocked at the price that they were offering it for. I was really confused. he was in construction sound ended like, and he basically just needed a little bit of capital to keep his construction business going. And they had that flower shop. And so I bought it with student loans because I didn't have any.
Which I don't know if that's really the recommended use for the student loans. And I'm not sure you tell anybody about that, although you just, it's probably fine now, right? Whoever's out there listening, I don't know. Scott's done well for himself, but I'm just going to say for the record, I'm not sure you're supposed to take your student loans. I'm talking to my son in particular, and buy a flower shop or anything else. I'd like you to finish up.
Technically, it's part of a class. Come on.
It's a practical experience of how to take risk.
If you don't notice this thing, entrepreneurship through acquisition, and people do similar things now where they get a bank loan based on the financial performance of a specific business over time. It's starting to crop up. There's private equity around it as well. It's a cool niche. But now,
and you probably had no idea. You probably had no idea at the time that Biden was going to probably forgive it at some point down the road.
I know.
Right? Had you known, you would have bought a whole chain, right?
That's right. I would have maxed it out. But and the interest rate back then was for student loans was subsidized, a little bit different, and so it's super cheap. Wrote off all of it on taxes back then, and the payback period on that business is 1.2 years. It was really a
no-brainer.
Basically, just
you could do a class on that, right? Even though that was a class.
That's right. How to use your student loans to buy a flower shop. I don't know how many people would sign up for that. But.
Yeah, that's right up there with we threw a party. We invited a bunch of people. We wound up charging them to come to the party in college. I took the money, and then I started a business of the phone book of all the people in all the fraternities and the sororities. And I went to the beer distributor and the Subway guy and the pizza guy and the Bud Light distributor, and I got them to advertise in my phone book. And then this is back before cell phones and internet, because I'm old, and you didn't know how to find people. So if you met a girl or a guy at a party, you'd have to write it down on a piece of paper. There was no texting it or clicking your phone or anything like that. And so this was a convenient thing to do. So basically, I took my beer money and then went to the beer company and then got them to invest in my business. That was my little ridiculous story. And
we all have them as entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, that had nothing to do with real estate. It was just about meeting girls and drinking beer, but it was a good one. All right, so let's fast forward, because other's we're just going to get off on a terrible tangent.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So fast forward.
So the flower shop, at the end of the day, it wasn't the end all.
No, it was just a means of impressing my newly married wife. That's what it was.
Mission accomplished.
And also, we're still married. So,
yeah, there you go. But then you wound up getting a PhD, right?
Actually, then I started a company in that trade show space, did really well. And then at the same time, it's 2009, I got laid off, right? And put my information up on LinkedIn about my experience in regulatory affairs. I got contacted pretty quickly. They laid me off, technically hired me back on contract for 3 times the rate. Basically, it was just a reduced headcount. I'm not sure what the accounting exercise was. And I started working for them. But then once the non-compete was over, I'd had a number of people contact me on LinkedIn and started doing regulatory affairs for food, cosmetic, automotive, just any type of consumer packaged good in the food, cosmetic, and a few of those other spaces that kind of are overlap. Topical OTCs. And that business did really well. Ended up bringing on a partner and ran that for about 10 years. And this was before, and we did the office thing or whatever. We ended up going remote really quick. So we basically had 0 overhead, and we had contractors all over the world doing, if you want to launch a food supplement in the US, then you talk to us and we tell you what all the regulations are and what ingredients you can use. And then if you wanted to expand, we'd get you all the certifications or registrations depending on the market, and build your strategy to launch internationally, but also within the regulatory framework so you don't get busted.
And also this is all at a time frame too, where the health kick and the vitamins and the supplements, that whole industry is really growing.
Yeah, so we really caught it on the upswing, and again, that company basically ran itself, and I kind of outsourced everything and started coaching high school soccer and teaching at BYU. And BYU actually asked me to come in and teach. I didn't actively want to teach, actually. I was making a lot of money and having a good time, that's the time also we hung out in Germany for a year just to get my kids exposure to it. My wife's grandparents are immigrants from there, so just kind of started experiencing life in a different way, but got really excited about when I was teaching at BYU. I just really loved the students, and They were intelligent, they were hardworking, they were driven, and they listened to me a lot better than my own kids, which was nice.
They wanted the grade too, and your kids just want the
That's
allowance
right.
and dinner. That's it.
You're right, exactly. But so I was running my company and doing all those things, but then my director at the time asked me, he said, "Hey, you've done really well. I had some really good ratings." And he says, "Have you ever thought about doing a PhD?" And I was like, "Oh, heck no." I'm like, I would never teach. My dad was a teacher. He was poor. We had 7 siblings going up on a little farm. And then I said, "I'm just too old for that." And he said, "I got mine at age 50." And so I had one of these types of intuitions or feelings I could give a lot back. And I told him, if there's, I know PhD is a lot about research, not about teaching. And so if there's an opportunity to research, I'd like to get some exposure to it because I really wasn't doing, I was semi-retired. The company just run itself. I had a bunch of rentals at the time as well. Real estate in Utah was cheap, so I bought a number of homes there and had those, they were running pretty well. And so then I got the opportunity I got contacted by Harvard and worked out there in their it's called Tom's Division of Technology and Operations Management, looking at new markets, how they emerge,
And
and
so
how
what year
you
is
win a
that?
new
Like,
market.
let's.
That was 2017, I think.
So you're slumming it at Harvard, and then that obviously must have opened up some other doors for you.
That was again, I was doing the research. I really enjoyed research and the impact it can have on scholars and society, students, and got to teach with the curriculum from Clayton Christensen, if you know anything on him. He's the Innovator's Dilemma and Disruptive Innovation, if you've ever heard of that. That's Clayton Christensen. And I was just blown away by just what we don't know about new markets, what we don't know about entrepreneurship. And so applied to a number of schools, got into the University of Washington, sold my business actually, sold my business.
And then went for the teaching gig or the PhD gig, right?
Yeah, the PhD. So yeah, we lived up in Seattle for about 4 years, just right outside Seattle. And once that 4 or 5 years is over, it's not great to be, it was actually a pretty rough job market because Trump had just announced that he was cutting all this funding from higher ed. So in 2009, I got an MBA in finance. And 2024, when everything's getting cut, I graduated with a PhD. So I don't think I have time to markets well in my job searches. But
So then take us to how the opportunity with Cal State Fullerton came about.
yeah, so I had a number of interviews, and for me, I'd had jobs and worked 60 to 90 to 100-hour plus weeks, and really wanted to find a place where I could make a lot of impact, but also be close to family. My brother's down here in San Diego. He's a chaplain, and he's my best friend, and our wives are best friends as well. And so for me, it was more about where can I make impact and create kind of an opportunity for me to be exposed to people who wouldn't have the opportunity to normally have these type of educational opportunities from in the educational industry. I'm a black swan where I've actually started companies,
Right, and
sold
done
companies.
it as opposed to just talking about it.
Right. And with Cal State Fullerton, it's the biggest, I think it's the biggest business school in California or second, and a lot of first gen students, a lot of commuters. And for me, what better opportunity is there than to give these types of students and all students in general
Yeah. So
entrepreneurial experience and entrepreneurial training, and also in a climate that's not, I really did enjoy working at some of these schools, but also the publisher parish is still real. And I really do enjoy the research. However, I also don't want to do the 90 to 100-hour weeks again
right.
and to get tenure at an Ivy League
So
institution.
now you're on to this new chapter in life. You've come to Southern California, and I'm going to say it's probably better weather than Seattle, having just been in the
Little bit.
Pacific Northwest and didn't see the sun for a week. And it's 80 degrees here today in Southern California. Sorry for those folks in the cold weather places, but that's why we pay the premium, and that's why gas is $5, and my house is a lot more than the average guy. And you're here, you're starting a new chapter. And you're at I don't want to say it's a new place for you, but not really a new place in terms of the Center for Entrepreneurship and the programs and the game plan for what's going on at Cal State Fullerton. I guess let's shift gears and talk about the university and the center and kind of what it is and where you hope to take it moving forward, because the Center for Entrepreneurship has been around for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been around for, again, it's been around for almost 2 decades.
And so there's the business school at Cal State Fullerton, and then the university obviously continues to grow, expand its curriculum, expand its student body, and then as a result of that, all the services and things that go along with it. And then recently, my friend Jerry Conrey, we will give props where they are due. Thank you for your support. And then they put his name on the school. And so now it's got some additional meaning. And Jerry, being an entrepreneur himself, I think would attest to the fact that it's important to be able to give students an opportunity to understand what that means. And then that is what's about growing the community. And then hopefully those students go out into the world and are successful or semi-successful, and they come back and support the university. That's the whole plan.
Yeah, and he's an archetype of how the whole center is built. He came through the program, became very successful, and then is now giving back. And that's hopeful. That's what I hope, right, that we continue to do. And he's not the only one. There's a number of entrepreneurs.
Of course. And as is the case with other centers and similar types of setups at other universities, that's what makes the world go round. And then you're giving back to the next generation of kids that are coming through and hoping that somebody's the next Bill Gates or the next Mark Zuckerberg or whoever you want to pick.
Yeah.
But then it's the center's job, really, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is to expose them to various different methods of thinking and then certainly business practices, but then give them the opportunity to run with it, whether it's a flower shop or a software company or going to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a twofold way of thinking about how this education, how the centers work. So you have the education that comes just through this business school, right? And you have centers that are set apart for specific types of outcomes. And you'll have a real estate center, for example. You said you had our professor there and on your show, right? You have real estate, you have leadership, you have HR. So you have these different centers that are, their whole purpose is set by the university for, in our case, entrepreneurship. We're building new ventures. And really we have a three-prong approach to the center and what we do, right? So initially what we're trying to do is get these students excited about entrepreneurship, right? Give them these academic connections to professors, to curriculum, to business plan competitions or whatever it is to get them excited about entrepreneurship. And then we're not only there just to expose students to it, but also to hold their hand through the process and then let them go. And so that's what the incubator is about. That's what some of these upper level classes or practicums are about in the entrepreneurship space. But again, if we're trying to build students, also at the same time, we need to have a lot of great research around it. And that's why the academic connections, number one. Second one is thought leadership, that we're reading the latest things, that we're engaging in programs like this, where we engage with entrepreneurs in the community, see what they're doing, so how they're thinking, how we can help them. And then lastly, the third prong is that community engagement, that we bring in mentors,
right,
and we bring in speakers, and we bring just these, we have some events like SoCal Celebrates, where we bring in all of these different businesses to expose them to each other and also specifically to the students in the next generation. So in the entrepreneurship, the Center for Entrepreneurship really is about creating academic connections and building thought leadership through research, and then also engaging the community in this process of us building Orange County entrepreneurship better and better.
And exposing them to real life situations of people who have built businesses or had ideas or bought businesses. And you've got the practical experience of dealing with all of those. Because to me, entrepreneurship is a general broad term, but if you're an entrepreneur, call yourself what you want, depending upon what you're an entrepreneur of. You could either be an entrepreneur of just buying and selling businesses, and then maybe you need to know about the business, but you don't have to be an expert. You'll have someone else do that. But you're still dealing with finance, you're still dealing with HR, you're still dealing with management, you're still dealing potentially with investors, customers, sales, right? All of these aspects of owning and running a business or just having an idea, you still need to understand these other aspects of what's going on. And it's hard to put that all into a couple of year program or a couple of classes, because that's a life's work of different exposures and different things. And so that's where I think really the mentoring and the real life stories of people coming in and talking about what they had to deal with is really the most helpful.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things in my class. If you take a class from me, let's say, Barry, you get excited, you wanted to take a class from me, which you wouldn't need to if you had the opportunity. I try to have almost every single class have either a mentor there or a guest speaker, and exposing the students not only to the theory that I bring with all the research and practical knowledge that I bring, but also different ways of viewing entrepreneurship. One of the questions that they have to write up afterwards, and by the way, in my class, you wouldn't be bringing in your cell phone either, which is a lot of fun for some of the students. But what you'd be handwriting in my class in some of these aspects is, where do you disagree with them? And where does this contradict some of the theories that we have? So there's not just one way of thinking about entrepreneurship, but it's a much broader term and much bigger than just a theory or one entrepreneur. It's just a manner and a way of thinking more than it is anything else.
Yeah. And look, there's entrepreneurs that have ideas, and then those ideas need to get put into action. Otherwise, they never become anything. And then there's other folks that are out there that seem to be good at sales, but if you don't have a product or a game plan to sell whatever you're selling, then you don't make a sale at the end of the day. So you've got to connect the dots, either with people, I think, or with arming people with the different skill sets to take one piece of the pie and put it together with the other to try and complete the puzzle. And so in terms of the Center for Entrepreneurship, I'm assuming there's cross-pollination with other departments, whether it's the real estate side of things or the business school, general business and finance classes. And do you help, and is there a vehicle for the students to be able to help focus on those aspects of it? Because people who have ideas, they need funding. And we sit here at the University of California, Irvine, and in the building that we're in, it's a think tank, and it's a shark tank for students and graduate students to come and pitch their ideas to investors, just like you'd see on TV, and get money from. And maybe you're lucky enough to be able to do that, but if you're not, you've got to go peddle your idea out in the public.
And that's one aspect that we'd love to, again, start building out. There's different events that we have where they create exposure and fast pitch competitions, etc. However, one of the initiatives going forward for me is to get more cross-pollination, not just between the business school, but also with kinesiology, art, engineering, especially. I'm in preliminary talks with engineering to start building curriculum that they take also if they're interested in entrepreneurship, not just being these generalists who learn the program, but also you have students from anywhere across campus who's excited about ideas to be exposed to the fun of entrepreneurship, right? The risks, the rewards, the pain.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the painful. And you experience it all. And if you didn't live through it.
If they want to run with it, then
you go.
Here.
And so, I know you're fairly new to the position, but in terms of moving forward with the Center for Entrepreneurship, are there some new and exciting things, or is it to continue to take baby steps in terms of expanding the program and outreaching into the community?
It's a business question. Re-innovate, disrupt, and everything, and change everything because of how the market's moving, or do you incrementally innovate? And right now, I'm very new. I've been here just a few months, and just looking at all the programs where it's succeeding, where it needs some help. But I think the first thing that we're really excited about is reinventing parts of the incubator to be completely, initially, student focused, and then community second.
Yeah.
So students who do have those ideas, that we're building a specific curriculum just for them, not just a general incubator. And I think that's pretty exciting. We have a subgroup doing a lot of research on how to best build that out. And we have already students contacting us. We're trying to tell them that we'll have it ready very soon for them. And then secondly, that we're moving that incubator into an international space where we already have clients in India, looking some in Vietnam, Mexico, to give not only just our community, but the greater community access to some of these incredible mentors and curriculum that we offer here at Cal State.
Good. I'm excited. And I would say, on the one hand, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see what you guys do moving forward. And I would offer up, if you need somebody to come in and make some stuff up about real estate and try and tell some real practical, real world stories, and I'll keep it clean, I'm happy to come and do that if you need help. In terms of, if people want to find out more about the Center for Entrepreneurship, what's the website and where can they go to find out more information?
I mean, this And instead of me listing out the whole thing, Conrey Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah. I think we lost your, yeah. So I think your audio is going in and out for a second. But I would say for people out there, assuming they can hear me, is go to Cal State Fullerton website and then look up the Conrey Center for Entrepreneurship, and you will find Scott. That's what I did. You'll see his picture and all of his staff and all of the different information that they have about the program there. And I would say we are unfortunately out of time. Paul is waving at me. It's breakfast time for him, and we'll let everybody get on with their day. Scott, I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your thoughts and your background and your input, and we wish you and the Conrey Center for Entrepreneurship much success in the coming months.
Thank you.
For everybody else out there, I am Barry Saywitz. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking more real estate. If we don't know the answer, I'm going to make it up. And we appreciate you tuning in, and enjoy your day. And we'll see you back here next time on Let's Talk Real Estate.
There you have it. You've been listening to Let's Talk Real Estate, your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current state of the real commercial real estate market right here in Southern California. On Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studio here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale